HOA Karen broke Streetlight, fined on $10,000 and ordered to replace it. The air in Willow Creek buzzed with whispers, but none stung quite like the rumor about Karen Whitaker. She'd smashed the neighborhood's prized antique streetlight in a fit of rage. And now the whole town was talking. By morning, the HOA's email thread was a war zone, and I, Sarah Nguyen, was about to get dragged into the mess. It started innocently enough. Willow Creek was the kind of place where everyone knew your dog's name before yours. I'd moved here 6 months ago, chasing a quieter life after years in the city. The neighborhood was picture-perfect manicured lawns, white picket fences, and that vintage streetlight at the corner of Maple and Elm, glowing like a beacon of small-town charm. It was a relic, installed in the 1920s, and the HOA treated it like a sacred artifact. Karen, the HOA president, was its fiercest guardian. She'd lecture anyone who so much as leaned against it, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. That light is our heritage, she'd snap, her blonde bob quivering with indignation. But last Tuesday, something snapped in Karen. I was sipping coffee on my porch when I heard the crash metal on metal, followed by a scream that could have woken the dead. I ran outside to find Karen standing over the streetlight's crumpled base, a tire iron in her hand. Glass shards glittered on the pavement like fallen stars. It was an eyesore, she shrieked, her face flushed as neighbors peeked from their windows. It flickered every night, disgraceful. I couldn't believe it. The woman who'd fined me $50 for an unapproved mailbox had just vandalized the town's pride and joy. The next day, the HOA meeting was a circus. Karen strutted in, chin high, acting like she'd done the neighborhood a favor. That light was a hazard, she declared, flipping through her binder of rules. I took initiative. The room erupted. Old Mr. Jenkins, who'd lived here for 40 years, slammed his fist on the table. "You destroyed history," Karen others chimed in, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of outrage. I stayed quiet, scribbling notes for the community newsletter I'd reluctantly agreed to edit. But inside, I was fuming. Karen's arrogance was suffocating, and her excuse didn't add up. Why would she, of all people, trash the light she'd spent years defending? As the days passed, the tension thickened. Karen doubled down, claiming the streetlight's wiring was faulty and she'd saved lives. But whispers spread. Some said she'd been drunk that night, others that she'd lost it after a fight with her husband. I started digging, partly because I was nosy, partly because I couldn't stand her smugness. I knocked on doors, asking neighbors what they'd seen. Most were tight-lipped, loyal to Karen's iron grip on the HOA. But Mrs. Carter, the elderly widow across the street, had a different story. She wasn't alone, she muttered, peering over her glasses. There was a man with her sneaky-looking guy, not from around here. That twist threw me. A man. I pressed Mrs. Carter for details, but she clammed up, saying she didn't want trouble. My curiosity burned hotter. I started watching Karen's house, noticing a beat-up sedan parked in her driveway at odd hours. One night, I caught a glimpse of the guy, tall, scruffy, with a hoodie pulled low. He wasn't a neighbor, and he definitely wasn't her husband, who'd been away on a business trip. Something was off, and I wasn't the only one noticing. The neighborhood's group chat lit up with speculation. Who's Karen's mystery man? Is she covering something up? The plot thickened at the next HOA meeting, where Karen pushed for a new, modern streetlight, her choice. Of course, from a company nobody'd heard of. It's cost-effective, she insisted, waving a glossy brochure. But I'd done my homework. The company, Bright Future Lighting, had a shady reputation, cheap products, inflated prices, and ties to a contractor named Vince Russo. A quick Google search linked Vince to Karen's mystery man. My gut screamed foul play. Was Karen profiting off the replacement? Had she smashed the light to push this deal through? I wasn't alone in my suspicions. Jake, a quiet mechanic who lived down the street, approached me after the meeting. "I saw her that night," he whispered, glancing around. "She wasn't just swinging that tire iron. The guy with her was egging her on, Handing her the tool, Jake's revelation hit like a lightning bolt. Karen hadn't acted alone, she had a partner in crime. I convinced Jake to come forward, and we presented our findings to the HOA board. The room went silent as Jake recounted the scene, his voice steady but his hands shaking. Karen's face drained of color, her usual composure cracking like the glass she'd shattered. The confrontation came at the town hall, where the whole neighborhood gathered to vote on the streetlight replacement. Karen stood at the podium, her voice shrill as she defended herself. "This is a witch hunt," she cried, pointing at me and Jake. "You're all jealous of my leadership." But the crowd wasn't buying it. Mrs. Carter, emboldened by the murmurs of support, stood up. "I saw you with that man." "Karen," she said, her voice cutting through the room. "You planned this," gasps rippled through the audience. I stepped forward, holding up printouts of Bright Future's shady contracts and Vince's rap sheet petty theft. "Fraud. The works. Karen's getting kickbacks," I said, my voice louder than I'd expected. She broke the light to line her pockets. The room exploded. Neighbors shouted, some at Karen, others at each other. Karen tried to flee, but Mr. Jenkins blocked the door, his cane raised like a sword. "You're not going anywhere," he growled. The HOA board called an emergency vote, stripping Karen of her presidency on the spot. But the real blow came when the town council got involved. They launched an investigation, uncovering a paper trail linking Karen to Vince's company. The streetlight, they found, wasn't just a local treasure, it was insured for $110,000 due to its historical value. Karen's act of vandalism wasn't just petty, it was a costly crime. The courtroom was packed the day of Karen's hearing. She sat, pale and silent, as the judge listed her charges: vandalism, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty. The prosecution played security footage from a nearby house, showing Karen and Vince plotting by the streetlight, their laughter chilling as they swung the tire iron. The crowd gasped again, the betrayal sinking in. Karen's defense was feeble, she claimed stress, a moment of weakness, but the evidence was ironclad. The judge slammed his gavel, fining her $110,000 to cover the light's value and ordering her to pay for its replacement, a custom job, to match the original. Whispers of justice buzzed through the room as Karen slumped in her seat. Her empire crumbled, but the story didn't end there. The neighborhood rallied to restore the streetlight, raising funds to ensure it was rebuilt with care. Jake, it turned out, had a knack for metalwork and volunteered to help with the restoration. Mrs. Wing Carter baked cookies for the crew, her way of saying thank you. As for me, I kept writing the newsletter, but now it carried a different tone, one of hope and unity. Karen moved away a month later. Her house sold to a young couple who planted wildflowers in the yard. The new streetlight glowed brighter than ever, a symbol of the town's resilience. Looking back, I realized Willow Creek wasn't just a place. It was a community that fought for what mattered. Karen's downfall wasn't just about a broken light. It was about accountability, about standing up to those who think they're above the rules. Her greed had sparked a fire, but it was our unity that put it out. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Or was the punishment too harsh? Share your thoughts. I'm curious to hear.